So when you've been in public ministry for decades and the spotlight's been shining on you, and now it's time to begin to raise up the next generation in a new focused way, what does that look like? What are some of the challenges that you're going to face when that time comes? Hi, my name is Cody Archer, and I want to welcome you to this week's Revive Live. I'm so glad that you're joining us today, and it is my privilege to have back with me Paul Wilbur. Paul, thank you so much for being back with me again.
Pleasure.
I had you here last year. We had a great conversation. We talked about the heart that is in you to raise up a new generation of these worshiping soldiers, an army of worshipers. And we're going to talk about that. But before we jump in, I just want to let our friends around the world know that we would love to have you here and visit us here at Revive Israel. We host people from all around the world every year. Sometimes we have up to about 2,000 guests that come through our small little ministry center here. But we'd love for you to come and take part in this as well. We start our mornings with worship, prayer, teaching. We take time to pray over and prophesy over many of the guests that come with us. So if you're an individual, a family, maybe you have an entire group that would like to come and experience worship in Hebrew, connect with local Messianic believers, we'd love for you to come and be with us. So if that interests you, go to our website, reviveisrael.org, and there'll be a part there where you can connect with us, send us an email, and we can set up all the details of the time and what that'll look like, and we'd love to host you from the nations. Well, Paul, I want to jump into some of what this last year's looked like for you. Last time you were here, you were on the verge of a big project here in Jerusalem, and it went great. There was great feedback. Let's hear a little bit. For those people that don't know what the project was, can you explain a little bit about it?
Well, we talk about seasons in life.
Yeah.
And I've been with Integrity Music for 27 years. That was a long season. I believe we've entered something different now. We're talking, our language has changed as a result of a heavenly impact that happened at the first night of Passover 2018, which is now about a year ago, where Jesus came to church. I highly recommend it for pastors.
That's good. I like that.
And for churches.
Yeah.
We like to call him Yeshua. However, that has had such, and I can't go into all the details, obviously, but the open vision that happened on a platform in a church of 10,000 in our hometown in Jacksonville, Florida, has transformed not only the pastor who has this open vision on the first night of Passover. I'm trying to teach through the Seder during the service and give people some context of how Yeshua, Jesus, institutes the new covenant using the Passover. For us is a obvious hello.
Yeah.
But here I am in a Gentile church. The pastor, Stovall Weems, who says of himself he is a Gentile of Gentiles, and doesn't find that to be a negative, of course.
No.
But while I'm teaching, Jesus shows up on the platform, stands right next to him, and reveals the kingdom to him in such a transformational way that everything changes. Everything changes. Offerings. No more chicken buckets, tzedakah boxes on the wall. No more close your eyes, raise your hand, privately believe, and then baptism. Everything has changed.
Wow, amazing.
That pastor was with us this past September of 2018, Feast of Tabernacles, when we gathered here in Jerusalem and released a sound. We were talking about it last year. At that point, it was still, come on, Lord, I got a big budget. You've given us the vision for this. Now we need the provision.
Yes.
And I could take 3 different broadcasts to tell you the supernatural. Cody, it's amazing when you hear from heaven and then just do what you're told. You know, where we say faith rises and you have to overcome the fears, the doubts, the unbeliefs, the resistors, the challenges, where's the money going to come from? How do I do this? I'm not mature enough to do this. This sounds way too big for me, which are all good indicators that was God speaking, by the way. Because why would he ask you to do something that you're able to do in your own strength? Because now you're going to get the glory for it. It's like, okay, yeah, I did that yesterday. You want me to do that again? All right, no problem. I can handle this. And this whole thing, this roar from Zion that's been accompanied by signs and wonders and heavenly visitations on a level that I've never experienced before. But when you know that you've heard from God and you step out there and simply obey, because we know the scriptures say that obedience is better than a what? Better than a sacrifice. You know, oh, my sacrifice for God, please. You know, that's so religious. It's like, you know, compared to what Yeshua did for us, that we don't want to hear about your sleepless nights or your whatever, your little challenges. So,
wow, that's, again, if I can just cut you off just
yeah,
one
go
second.
ahead.
It's amazing to think, you know, you've been in ministry for over 40 years, and you know, you may think, well, in those beginning years as a young man of faith, and I'm breaking through, and everything was so difficult, I had to jump off the boat, but now you're 40 years later, and you've had a whole lifetime of stories, and the Lord is still asking you to step off the boat, believe for bigger things, expand your vision. And it's not just, you know, coming into retirement and let's slow down and land that plane again. He's still asking you to go higher. That's amazing.
Yeah, well, it's not only amazing, but it's exciting. It's motivating. And to know that we are still, you know, whether it's me or Asher or Dan or any of the other more mature seniors that are a part of this thing that we do here, just the joy of knowing that he still trusts us to hand the ball and say, you know, there's the goalpost, here's the ball. Yeah, you've got a few things in the way here, but this way, kadima. And so this whole roar from Zion thing that came out of prayer, just back up a few seconds, is Joel chapter 3. I had just a couple minutes one day for a quiet time because I was so busy I didn't have time for a quiet time. Busy doing things for God, I didn't have time to spend with him. So I'm sitting there with my Bible and say, okay, I need something quick and brief. And I thought, okay, Joel, 3 chapters, so I got time for that. Over there to the 2/3 of the way through, reading through Joel, and I'm almost finished. I thought, okay, now I can get busy and do something. And I hit those verses. He says, I'm in the last days, I'm going to gather you from where I've scattered you. And when I do, I will thunder from Jerusalem, and I will roar from Zion. And so that took care of my busy schedule. I sat there, and I began to get the sense that this is not just a line on a page, but now this is a mandate. I'm hearing him say, I want to release this sound. I want to roar again from Zion and thunder from Jerusalem. And I'm looking for a vessel that I can release this sound through. Are you available? Are you too busy? Or would you like to participate? So I started to pray and dream. And now that mandate has become a disc, a CD, a DVD, that on the Feast of Tabernacles 2018, we were here with an amazing team, not only of musicians and friends from Nashville, but also millennial believers from here in the land, because the subtitle is Roar from Zion, subtitle Rise of a Remnant. So some of the millennial remnant here from the land, Arab Christians, Messianic Jews, Gentile Christians from the nations who have come to sow their lives here. We got together 2 nights during the Feast of Tabernacles here in Jerusalem, and the songs and the sound and the worship was captured and is just now being released into the nations.
Wow.
And I can tell you, Cody, it's thrilling.
Wow. So how can people get access to this stuff when it goes live? It's about to go live, you know, very soon. Where can we send people to?
Right about now. iTunes, Roar from Zion.
Okay.
Spotify, Amazon, paulwilbur.com. You can get physical copies.
Yeah.
I know everybody's into downloads and digital, and can I get it on my watch? Yes, you can. paulwilbur.com or iTunes, it's also available as a DVD, so you can see and hear some of our friends like Joshua Aaron, Sarah Lieberman, Jamie Hillsden, McKeddam, voices from the land, from the remnant. So this has become now a driving passion of ours to take this 40-year-old platform that God has given to us and build a bigger platform underneath what God is doing here in the land to lift up the sound and the roar from Zion, not to Zion, but from Zion to the nations. There's been a shift, I really believe, where the nations have come and they're wanting to comfort Zion and all of that, and that's great, and continue to do that. It's important. But there's now a sound that's rising up from under our feet here in the land that is authentic, that is dynamic, that it must be heard. It's the sound of the redeemed from here in Zion.
So good.
And so we are, by God's grace, providing a platform for that to be expressed in the nations.
You know, when I think about this project as well, I can't really think of anybody more suited for this than you yourself, you know, to be able to gather people from the nations, gather believers here in the land, release the sounds. And so for us living here, thank you for taking those steps of faith, for the money, the logistics, all of the hard work behind the scenes to make that happen. And I believe, though, too, that it's not just like a one thing, you know, a flash in the pan, but there's momentum that's going to begin to build out of this, and this is going to take us to the next level.
Wait till you hear the sounds.
Okay.
They are
We want to hear
Middle Eastern.
Wow.
They are modern. They are
Awesome.
thrilling. It's
Yes.
thrilling.
A new song unto the Lord. So now what's next?
Wow. So the nations continue to call. Europe, Africa, where there's a fresh revelation that is beginning to open. There's a parallel restoration happening that God has given us a voice to express. Our friend Derek Prince, God bless him, who lived half a year here in Jerusalem and half a year back in my home state of Florida for much of his adult life. He wrote a book 50 years ago called The Parallel Restoration of Israel and the Church. And it's coming to life again in a very special way. But we're seeing the opportunities that God's given to us to express this in the nations, that as he's maturing the body and he's preparing a bride that's fit for a heavenly bridegroom, he's also restoring Israel in an incredible way, restoring everything that's necessary so that these two cutting blades of this sword of the Spirit, the bride and Israel, on this parallel course, until at the very end of the blade, there's a place where these two edges come together. But it happens at the end. They don't come together part way. It's not a dagger. This is a sword of the Spirit that's taking millennia to produce by the hand of God. And these two edges being restored in a parallel way, and we're seeing it here, a restoration of the fear of the Lord, the name of Yeshua, the King of Israel, the King of Jerusalem, the King of the Jews, being restored here, and also salvation and the restoration of the bride in the nations, and the parallel work that heaven is doing, and the songs that he's given us that express this. So whether it's Dance With Me, Lover of My Soul,
Yes.
or it's Psalm 44, or Cody, I could go on for a long time.
Yes.
But we're seeing such, I hope this doesn't sound arrogant or whatever, but the pressing in of heaven is so unique in this time, unlike any other time.
Wow.
I believe that Acts chapter 3, verse 21 is a moniker of what heaven is doing. And Peter is preaching in the temple. The lame man has just received his life back, his legs. And he says there, he, speaking of Yeshua, must remain in heaven until the time to restore all things.
Yeah.
I believe that we have now entered this time, not a season, a time, a kairos, where he is restoring all things, the fear of his name, his presence in the midst of his people, the salvation to Zion. He's restoring all things. We're experiencing this in such a dynamic way that we are re-energized in our mature years. Notice I didn't say old years.
Yes,
and our
like
mature years as fathers and mothers, like the renewing of the eagle. We're getting new talons.
Wow.
We're getting new beaks. Obviously, we have no lack of something to declare because we're declaring what we're seeing and hearing of a restoration and a blessing of heaven in Jerusalem, in Israel, in the nations, that says a king is coming.
Amen.
So whether it's preaching or whether it's singing or whether it's heaven demonstrating the kingdom, which is also another sign of the time that we've entered.
Wow.
We're looking for these
amazing
demonstrations of heaven. One last thing, and then I'll shut up, maybe. The Lord said to me months ago, no more declarations without a demonstration. There's been so many declarations over so long a period of time that I think the ears of the world are wearied because a declaration without a demonstration is just a theory. And there are so many of those out there.
So true.
But we're not representing a theory. We're representing the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We're his ambassadors. We're his kids. And he wants to demonstrate who he is. This is what set Yeshua, Jesus, apart from all the other messiahs. He demonstrated the kingdom.
Amen.
And we're called to be like him in this earth.
Wow, so good. Well, Paul, we're almost out of time. I have one more question for you, but before we do that, I just want to encourage our friends who are watching right now. Guys, Paul has so much great content. He's written so many songs. He's authored many books, has so many CDs. I want to encourage you to go to his website. Say it again.
PaulWilbur.com.
Check out his Facebook page, iTunes. There's so much great content that has come out through him and his team that is going to bless you, strengthen you, that's going to have your heart soaring in worship. So go ahead and check those things out. And Paul, the last thing I want to just ask you today is, it's kind of shifting gears a little bit, but all of us make mistakes in life and ministry, and you've had decades of ministry and experience and around the world. You know, we have young worship leaders also that join in and watch Revive regularly. Was there a particular mistake that you look back now and be like, oh, I would totally do things differently? Can you maybe pinpoint one of those things and then maybe a suggestion of how you would do differently today?
You know, Cody, I can't think of one. I can't think of one mistake that I've made.
Great.
You know, I would say that the greatest asset that God gives us in life to keep us from pits and snares is our communion with Him and with one another.
Yeah.
You're a part of a ministry here whose leader and I go back 4 decades. And if there is one thing that has kept me from being stupid or being arrogant or taking for granted, it's been my fellowship in prayer and covenant relationship with like-hearted men who will have stood with me, prayed with me, counseled me, challenged me. And so relationships with people like Asher and Trader, Eitan Shishkoff, who Dan Juster, are foundation stones in this ministry.
Yes.
And I can honestly say that because of our communion, our covenant together, have really kept me, even when we've been separated by thousands of miles.
Yes.
We'll pray over Skype or Zoom or the phone, and how things going, what can I pray for?
Yeah.
And that has been a stay in my life. The problem of a lone ranger, no matter what you do in life, is a dangerous place to be.
It is.
So I would say the covenant relationships have kept me and provoked me, so that I honestly can't say that thing which I was stupid in, and God gave me an amazing wife who prays for me. We pray together, and I listen to her. Has been a real a Jonathan David relationship is God's greatest
That's beautiful.
protection against the flesh and the silly things of life.
Yeah. Well, you know, for me as a younger millennial, there's many other people my age or a bit older, younger. We look at you guys, at you and Asher and others, and this covenant relationship that you guys have developed is probably the banner, the greatest banner or declaration or example that we look to that says, if we can have that in a number of decades, we will succeed, we'll be successful. And so I want to thank you for staying in those relationships. I know there's been some ups and downs and roller coasters like there is in every relationship, but the fact that you guys have stuck together in love and commitment to one another, you're still walking together today, probably even in more unity, more love, more tenderness toward one another, is an incredible testimony of the gospel, of the work of Yeshua in your hearts. And so thank you for sticking, not just sticking it out, but thriving in that and setting an example for my generation. It's really needed, especially today with so much loneliness and media and everybody's got a phone in their face. You guys have done real relationships and have corrected one another, and so thank you. And thank you for your time today.
Oh man, it's a
I always
pleasure.
love chatting with you. We'll have you back again. Hopefully you can spend some more time with us again.
Look forward to it.
And friends, thank you for joining our conversation today on Revive Live. I hope that this has blessed you. It stirred your heart, and I want to just encourage you, as long as you've heard from Paul, we have to be sowing into these relationships that are not just here and there, but over the decades where we are locked in relationship, loving one another, giving grace, correcting, being in accountability. This is really the lifeblood of the kingdom and Yeshua building his bride. So keep doing that. Keep pressing into those relationships, pressing into the quiet time with the Lord. And we love you, we bless you, and I will look forward to seeing you next week on Revive Live.